So here's the key. What I really like about this conversation is that we're challenging people
Yes.
with the question, can you stand to be blessed? Hello, everybody. I'm so excited. I'm Antipas Harris, and I'm here with my great friend. What's your name?
Man, Dr. Willard Maxwell. I just want to put doctor on there since he ain't say it. Anyway, no. Seriously though, man, this is awesome to be here, man. We here, man. That's the name of this show that we're gonna call it. We're gonna call it We Here.
We here. We talk
We
about
here,
everything.
baby.
And we talk about everything.
We talk about everything.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm really excited to have a conversation about, both of us have a theological background and love theological education, and we think about it broadly. I often say that theological education is thinking deeply about things that matter, because theology has to do with all of life.
Yes.
Especially when we think about black theology. It's about the black experience, the black church. It's about how do we think about God and the relationality between God and human persons. And so I think about it in terms of not only sort of black experience historically, but thinking about life experience holistically now. Housing, policing, thinking about it, relationships, thinking about it in terms of the way that we think about, the future. What does it mean to care? What does it mean to love? What does it mean to speak truth to power? All these things are theological conversations. And so I think that what we're going to be talking about is everything.
Everything. We talking about everything. Man, so it was this class we took at ITC, the Interdenominational Theological Center. Your brother went to school with me.
Yeah.
And called missiology. And missiology is missions, theology, evangelism, all rolled into one. And one thing I would say, I have a doctorate degree in education, but I would say I don't think any degree was as tough as theology, because theology touches on everything. And I just begin to be reminded of King, Dr. Martin Luther King,
right.
how he struggled to figure out what was he going to major in order to be able to speak truth to power, because he knew he was called to elevate the people.
Yeah.
He's like, man, he didn't know if he wanted to major in politics, political science. He didn't know if he wanted to major in business. He struggled with should he major in sociology. But then he said, you know what? Theology, philosophy and theology, because he said the theology to understand God is to really begin to understand yourself and people. And so I believe when you begin to bring theology into a situation, because when you first of all, we need to understand this. I know a lot of times we always in the mainstream, but the first thing you need to understand is God and Jesus. Because if you know God, Jesus, if you know Jesus and you know who he is, then you realize who he is in you, he begins to show you who you are. So I don't want to become too theological out here, but you have to know who you are in him, because if you don't know who you are in him and who you are, people begin to define who they want you to be. And when you don't have that esteem or that godness, that presence, the God in you won't let anyone define who you are, because he's made you fearfully and wonderfully, and he has a purpose that only you can complete, that only you can do. And a lot of times people try to put you in a box. And when people try to put you in a box because they feel like that's what you're supposed to do. When I got here, they said, oh no, pastor, you're supposed to do these office hours, 9 to 5. No, that ain't how you cannot grow a church. You cannot begin to be with the people if I'm in an office from 9 to 5. I need to be here, lack of a better term, I need to be in the streets evangelizing. I need to be out here dealing with the police, dealing with politics, dealing with education, so that when I'm there, I can be able to bring the presence of God into places that have no godly order.
I want to go back to something you said earlier. You said about knowing yourself.
Yes.
The ancient literary scholars, ancient philosophers talked about know thyself. And today people talk about be yourself, right? So, but interestingly enough, the ancients talk about know yourself. What good is it to know yourself if you can't be yourself? And then today, what good is it to be yourself if you don't really know who you are? So what I'm really seeing a lot of times is people on this sort of hashtag be yourself, but they don't know themselves. And you can't know yourself without knowing your history. You can't know yourself without having a sort of deep reflexive moment where you actually understand your own gifts and talents. And you also can't know yourself if you don't look in the mirror of faith, where it can define and refine who you are. Because being yourself means that you must choose your best life. And you can't choose your best life if you don't have a framework by which you make a judgment on what's best. I don't know what's best for me if I don't look into something bigger than me that helps me understand the value of what's best.
Man,
And that's what faith is about.
But you said something, man. You said what's the sense of knowing yourself if you can't be yourself?
That's right.
And my thing is, as a black man in America, a lot of us do know ourselves, but can we be ourselves? So many times you go into different rooms where you have to almost dumb down your anointing, dumb down your presence, dumb down your intelligence sometimes so you won't intimidate people to make sure the door don't close. Because if a white man speaks with a certain authority, oh, he's great. He's so assertive. He's a leader. If a black man speaks with authority, he's arrogant.
You know what's interesting?
First of all, if I speak, I'm just keep it real. Let's go on and put everything in it, how they do it. If I speak, they calling me abruptive and they calling me violent because I'm dark. Him, they gonna say he arrogant. I'm just saying that's how America do. It's not trying to be. I'm not trying to be funny. That's America. That's how white America does black people. They still operate in that Willie Lynch syndrome. Put the dark against the light against the dark, the old against the young, and when you do that, they'll trust you. That's what Willard Lynch said. These niggas or these Negroes will trust you, the master, more than they trust themselves if you continue to magnify their differences. And when you do that, you'll be able to keep them in control for 400 years. We just talked about the commemoration of slavery that happened, about 3 or 4 years ago, the 400 years of it, we still in the same place.
You know, but the slavery actually happened 400 years of slavery. I was in Ghana and I went to Cape Coast. It's just mind-boggling. And part of my experience, though, where there were 3 African-American boys that were also in Ghana, and 2 of them went also to Cape Coast. And when they experienced it, I experienced it with them. And it's something powerful about being on that journey with young men. And that's why I really want to take young African-American boys to some country in Africa, particularly Ghana, because that was the point of no return, where you go on the ships and sent out to the New World. But I've also been to Angola, to the slave castles there. I've been to the slave trade portal in Nigeria, and most recently in Ghana. And being there and listening to the fact that slavery happened for 400 years. And I'm not talking about since slavery. I'm talking about slavery itself happened over a course of 400 years. When you think about it, starting in the 1400s and wasn't abolished to 1864. That's 400 years. Yeah. So there was an infrastructure of slavery. There was such a system and a structure of slavery that our ancestors went through. And you can't possibly know who you are if you only know yourself so far back as slavery. Because we as a people existed beyond 400 years. But that 400 years is a long time. When you think 400 years just felt different when I was in Ghana. Man, I thought that's a long time.
That's 40 divided by, 400 divided, that's 40 generations. Because generations is 40 years. That's 40 generations of separation from yourself.
Yeah. So the difficulty is unraveling who you are. Like myself, I'm a child of slavery. You say I'm light-skinned, but on both sides, my ancestors were slaves. So even Ancestry.com cannot even tell me who I am because I'm splattered all over Africa. Right. That is a person. I am a person who does not know who he is from a historical perspective. Wow. I'm obviously a descendant of Africa, but Africa is a continent. Even if I figured out I was a descendant from Ghana, which is impossible because I'm scattered all over the place. Even within Ghana, there are many different tribes, and tribes is the definition of a nation. So you got 300 tribes, over 300 tribes in Nigeria. That's over 300 nations. The cultures are not the same. The food are not the same. The language is not the same. But when you bring people from all over the continent and you put them in the new world and force them an identity only by skin color, You disrespect their individual cultures, their language differences, and now they have to come up with something entirely new, and we call it Black in America. So then we as a people are a wounded people by definition,
Yeah.
by identity. We're a wounded people. So in a world that won't stop wounding, we know that the end date on the calendar when slavery and the Emancipation Proclamation. We also know when the Civil War started and when it ended. We also know when Jim Crow came on, but there is no end date to Jim Crow. You cannot tell me the date that Jim Crow ended. The reality is we're still in Jim Crow.
Definitely.
Mindset of Jim Crow, even when Ahmaud Arbery was killed in Georgia, all evidence was that he was killed based on a hate crime. The problem is there was no law against a hate crime. We had John Lewis was a congressman. We had all these folks we sent into D.C. coming out of Georgia. Yet there was never a moment in this country where we paused and lamented slavery. We paused and lamented Jim Crow. So then we still have laws on the books, still have attitudes, infrastructure, systems that are very racist while we're sitting around saying we love everybody.
Yeah, and it's definitely still racist, man. Even now, when you look at it, look at baseball. If I play baseball, predominantly white, now mostly Hispanic and white, I can go straight to the pros, right? I can run track. I can go straight to the pros. I can go play tennis. I can go to play tennis. I'm 14, 15 years old. I can be pro. I can be gymnast and get all these advertisement endorsements at 13, 14. But basketball, I got to go to school. For what? Because I'm black. It's a predominantly black sport, and they want to make sure they get the money off the Negroes before they go play. Football, now, your body isn't fully developed, so maybe you shouldn't go early, but the thing about it is they always want to make sure in their mind that black people pay their dues. Frat houses pay for dudes play lacrosse, but they paying for all that stuff on the backs of the football and basketball because that's what brings the most money to the school. So you got me out there, that's still, to me, slavery. Now they finally got it where you can get paid off your likeness, but it was times when if a coach bought somebody a sandwich, they could lose their eligibility. But anything that's predominantly white, I go play golf. I go pro when I'm 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. But for basketball, to bounce a ball, jump, shoot, dunk, something that don't take really much intellect, understand? But no, you got to go to college. Why? Because I want to make money off of your black ass. You understand? Just keeping it 100. Sorry, man. I be getting pissed, man. I'm just saying. Can't put that on the Newbies Grove page. We'll see you at Willard Maxwell or Antipas Harris. We won't see you on even though there's theological conversation, we won't see you on the theological thread. All right?
No. But theology is about all of life and God's interaction with all of life, and the things that God does not like is discrimination, inherent racism, inherent bigotry, oppression. Those things are just words if you don't have stories to explain how they play themselves out in real life. And what you're explaining is how these things play out in real life. How does hate play out? It usually is not a person just go up to you and say, I hate you. It plays out in behavior. It plays out in reactions to your behavior. It plays out in the way that the shrewd subtleness of life. So when you talk about the ways in which basketball and football and lacrosse and all the rules are not the same, you unearth all of the inherent biases and the sort of subtle prejudices. That gets at the root of where racism is today. Because, I often tell people, like even in Norfolk, Virginia, you can conceivably be born in a neighborhood, say Ghent. You can be born in Ghent, a white person, go to a private school in Ghent, go to another private school, graduate from high school, and never had a positive or meaningful interaction with black people. You, by the same token, could grow up in, say, Huntersville, and you can go to, say, Jaycox, which is an elementary school. You can then go to Ruffner. All those are predominantly black. And then you can go to Booker T High School, graduate, and never have a meaningful interaction with a large number of white people. So then you have an unintended, at this juncture, historically it was intended, but right now is unintended segregation that we just overlook because we just say, my heart is pure. I love everybody. I love everybody. Well, you're living in a town that has structures in place that keep people separate, and we live into that separation and never, ever try to fix it because why? I don't have to. So then you get what we get. You get George Floyd and the police officer. You get all the racism played out and all the protesting we see because it's a woman called me when George Floyd was killed and said, she's 78. She said, Antipas, who keeps putting the wall up? And I'm thinking, what is she talking about? And she said, who keep putting the wall up? She said, we were marching about this in 1968. Y'all still marching about this same stuff. I thought we had fixed it. It's just so discouraging. We ain't fixed nothing. I said, you know what's even more discouraging is the officer who killed George Floyd was in my age group. Every generation, we're recreating the same problem. And many times we're doing it unintentionally, but we're doing it. And if we don't bring light to it and name it as a problem, we'll never be able to fix the problem for the future.
Because they never said. I mean, like Malcolm X said. He said, man, first of all, the reason why you can't ever heal, because y'all don't even want to admit you got a knife in me. You don't want to admit you got a knife in my back. So how can I heal if you never even take the knife out because you act like it was never put there?
Yeah.
And so my thing is they say, hey, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. But like in the West and the Midwest, as King would say, they gave them monies. They gave them interest-free loans. They gave them free land in order to help the white immigrants to be able to become successful. They didn't ever do that with us. They give people that come in from overseas now interest-free loans. They don't give us no interest-free loans. Every time we get ready to do something, they move the goalposts. I mean, shoot, you start doing good. Oh, let's burn Tulsa down. Oh, you start doing good. Let's go burn down Rosewood. Hey, you doing good. Let's go burn this down. It's always something. Oh, Atlanta, you doing good. Oh, let's keep on. Because you see, they done made Emory in Atlanta. Atlanta now. Every time they moving all these borders.
I'm an Emory graduate.
But I'm just saying, they made it. Watch it. See? The white man got him already. So look. See how they divide and conquer? See how they do? But see, they Emory. I mean, I got Emory. I got my certifications and stuff from Emory. That's why I did my pastoral care.
But your point is well taken.
But my point is they keep moving the boundaries because what? They want a white mayor. The Atlanta is the busiest airport in the world. The busiest airport in the world, and the state went to Delta because it's owned by Delta and said, hey, don't you want us to run this? No, we don't want y'all to run it. We already the busiest airport in the world while we run it. Why? Because Atlanta is predominantly black. When they made it Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, white people went out their mind. But Jackson is the one that got the Olympics there. Jackson is the one who expanded the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Yeah. He's the one that he put a deal together so beautiful.
Yeah.
So I just said this on when I was talking to the Republican guy. So Maynard Jackson was such a genius. You know, the white people wanted those Confederate monuments. Black people don't want to see them on the street. So he said, you know what? Let's do this. He built a $20-30 million museum to house all them Confederate monuments and said in exchange, anytime there's a business that goes up in Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, then there needs to be a black business that goes in there. So if it's a white restaurant, a majority restaurant, has to be a minority restaurant. So it's 50% black businesses inside Hartsfield-Jackson Airport.
Yeah, Maynard Jackson.
Just to bar that. And now they mad because they feel like the deal ain't good because they realize we don't care about these statues. We just want to piss Negroes off. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
they don't want to go to the
back to
museum
your
no
earlier
more.
point. The point, but Maynard Jackson actually was responsible for making a lot of black millionaires in Atlanta.
Yes.
So rest in peace, Maynard Jackson. But I think that we have to be more intentional, even as African Americans, about how we strategize. I often tell my Jewish brothers that there are some things we can learn from you. Look at Wall Street. The Jewish community has struggled in many ways in this country and in the world, and yet they have been able, on a business tip, to create business and revenue generation. And I'm thinking, why black people can't do that? Because KKK didn't like them nor us. But I think there's some things we can learn, how we can work together to create wealth in our community. And that's what I need from you, because I'm trying to make money. And I think you can help me.
I'll definitely help you make money with real estate. But let me say this. Let me say this. There was a lot of Maxwells in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A whole bunch of me's. I'm gonna definitely show you how to make money, because I love when I teach my people how to make money. He just filmed some stuff today, taught somebody how to do a subject to how to take over the mortgage without having to put the mortgage in their name. We just did one. He got on film and everything. But Tulsa, Oklahoma, they become successful. Hell, they came and dropped bombs on it. Right. Anytime we start going somewhere, either they change the rules or they flat out do something with the government itself to set us back. So on one hand, I do want to say why we don't get it together. But the problem is, when we do get it together, we get destroyed through governmental means, which in essence keeps us from having multiple generational successes. So they kill the people in Tulsa. They take their businesses. They take down the Black Wall Street. Now we got to go make a
in
new.
1920.
See, that's the whole
20s.
thing.
So the question
but
is,
if white people have been here all this time and never got their stuff destroyed, you ain't building upon it.
I do. I understand that point.
You can never create a multi-generational blessing if they destroy it every time you do it. We say the 1920s, but if they didn't destroy it, we'd be doing better off right now.
That is true, because generational wealth is a contributor to the compound.
So we never get compound interest. We never get compound success, because either they change the rules or they kill. In Atlanta, they made a rule back in the 90s, early 2000s, where you couldn't buy more than like 8 or 9 houses. They only did that because the number one real estate market in the world for over 50 years is Atlanta. And it's us. And they changed the rules. But they said it was a rule in Georgia. But I knew it was just a rule in Atlanta. So what I do, I go buy a house in Augusta. My name is Willard Maxwell. So I send a white man every time to go buy my houses. His name is Bill Hires. Hopefully he's not bad, but he was old already. So if he is gone, rest in peace. But I would always send him for me. Mm-hmm. One day I had to go there myself, and they said, well, why you been sending him all the time? I said, because I'm black. Y'all wouldn't let me buy this many houses as I was white. Because it's always some type of rule they make it. They said it was all of Georgia, but they weren't doing nothing in Augusta. Why? Because it wasn't most of us doing it. So yes, I'm not trying to make any excuses, but I do know when we start doing it and we start pulling together, they always come destroy. I mean, hell, when they did the Black Panthers, that killed a lot of our stuff. They were actually feed. How you gonna be the number one enemy in the flipping country when you done caused the gangs not to kill each other? You done brought what's his name? Fred Hampton brought the flipping KKK and black folk together. They was at peace. But they call him the number one enemy. Why? Because when you start bringing everybody together they don't care when you preaching separate and you say, I just want to do this, I want to do this, and my people, and I ain't studying white people, I ain't trying to get a piece of the pie. They let you cuss them out all the time. But the minute you start bringing stuff to mainstream and bringing attention to your culture, that's when they kill you, Malcolm. That's when they kill you, Martin. That's when they kill you. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm just going on a tangent right now. But what irritates me is, every time we get a piece of the pie, they change the rules, they infiltrate. I mean, they had informants creating the crimes. They had informants join the Black Panthers. Informants join the Nation of Islam. Informants join these different organizations. They commit the crimes, and put it on the Black Panthers and other people when it's really the government telling them to create the crime.
No, that is true historically. My question is, where do we go from where we are right now?
I don't know.
Do you think we're going to recreate that same scenario, or you think that we still have that kind of system and structure?
It's still there, but my thing is I curate my own wealth. Real estate, like you said, you want to learn how to be paid. I would definitely teach you how to get paid, but you know you connect to TDJs and everything, so you already got money. but seriously, with real estate, dude, real estate. Look, I do loans sometimes, but most times I buy it with cash because it's just less stuff for me to sign. Then I might come back and refinance it because money, real estate is the number one way to curate wealth. The only industry that has more money than real estate is the government, and the government can print more money if they run out. The most self-made millionaires is real estate. The reason why the rules, I don't know why people go to jail for doing real estate fraud, because at the end of the day, if it's illegal this year, we got enough lobbyists out there that's going to make it legal in the next year too. You understand? So certain write-offs, certain ways that you can escape taxes. I can buy a house now, flip it, take the money that I make, do a 1031 tax exchange, and not even have to pay taxes on the money I make, as long as I go buy another house the same value or more. And I can keep doing that cycle over and over and over again. And the way I make my money, if I want to pull money out, I just refinance. Because what? Ain't no loan, ain't no taxes on borrowed money. But I already used my cash. Then I got a renter in there, so I ain't paying on it. They paying the interest and everything for me. So with so many different games you can play and continue to play the game. So yes, I believe we can't be scared. Most of us aren't making a lot of money is because we depend on a 9 to 5. I'm not saying anything wrong with a 9 to 5. I mean, technically I'm a pastor. I really have a 9 to 5, but I still do Maxwell Realty. I still have my In Touch. I have my Willard Maxwell Ministries. I have my Overflow Investments where I serve as a hard money lender. I'm a real estate broker. I make money selling houses. I do my own. So I still make my own money. I have multiple streams of income. And I think the main thing Black people need to do is learn how to stop depending on the system to pay you and use the system to fund your vision. Use that job to put money into your own business. Use that job to go invest and buy property and make money off rent and generate tax write-offs. Because at the end of the day, some people mad because I got a stimulus check and they know I make way more money than them. But one thing I say, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I learned how to write off like him. Thank you, buddy. I write my stuff out. Boy, these people were hating. I almost called their name. They literally cussed me out because they were like, how did you get a stimulus check? And I didn't. I tried to teach you how to do the write-offs, but you wouldn't listen.
Well, with that said, I think that it's real important that we do learn the rules of the game and be able to work it so that we can live our best selves.
Yes.
Also, I think that we need to know who we are and to live into that identity. And we need to find ways to create streams of income. At the same time, I believe that we have to, as a community, share this information with each other and also share the wealth, right? Because there are a lot of Black millionaires and some Black billionaires. It would be interesting how we're able to coalesce resources to build something new like a Black Wall Street, or build something new like, as a group of people can own communities. As an individual, own houses, own all the things that I can own. But how can we come together to own high rise? How can we? Because you learn that from other communities, how they work together. I mean, you look at in the Muslim community, in international multi-billionaires come from Abu Dhabi and other places. They come here and they're able to work together to build communities, and they're silent owners. You don't even know who they are, who really owns that community. But it's like people working together in business strategies. So I think that speaks to theological concept, building a beloved community. This is how you build a beloved community. Yes. It's not just simply saying, how everybody just kind of get along and nobody shoot each other. But how do we build? We need that. But how do we build wealth together? So we need to be alive to build wealth together. And how do we store up for the future of our community? How we invest more in the HBCUs, and not only HBCUs, but other schools as well, for the future education of our community. I think we got to find ways to get at that,
I think it's doing small things. Like I had a real estate workshop for free. I know Justin be looking at me sometimes like, dude, what's wrong with you? 'Cause he always tell me, dude, you can't just give everything away. But I did a real estate workshop, taught them different things, brought people in. I paid the people to speak. I paid for some of them to come in, put them in hotels and everything. But I had loan officers. I had people talk about probate. I had people talk about wills because I want my people to learn what's going on. They need to learn how to take care of their legacy. Because if you don't have a will and the house go to the state, then the wealth you built not even going to your kids. And you got to understand that just because you have a will, just because you think it's going to go to your family, you need to set an executive. You need to have a will so that you can be able to get them certified by the state, so they will have legal access to talk to these lenders and these mortgage companies and whatever, to make sure that you're able to settle your estate. Sometimes I bought houses and I've sold houses to people less than I could have sold it for, because maybe they're trying to get started in investment. So I'm like, you know what? I know I can sell this house for $230,000. You know what? I'm gonna sell to you for $200 so I can give you some equity. I do it all the time. And some people say, why do I do it? Because I want to give back and I want to help other people be able to make it. You understand? Or people that couldn't afford a house, the one that we did over there on 30th Street. I got it where I'm empowered them to come along and buy a house, but I sold it to them for $40,000 less than what I could have. But I still made something. But to be able to put them in a situation where they're not able to strain. So a lot of times it's just doing little things, because when you begin to do that, God is going to give back to you. It's more blessed to get to receive than to receive. But even if you don't understand God, understand Maslow. Maslow says any action causes an equal and opposite reaction. So if I throw a ball at this wall, you know what? If it hit that wall, if I throw it soft, it's going to come back soft. If I throw it hard, it's going to come back hard. If I give hard, it's going to come back hard. If I give soft, it's going to come back soft. The more I give, the more it's going to come back to me. So I never feel bad. And I ain't gonna lie. Initially, sometimes I do be irritated. Like the day when I did that filming. The subject too, the young lady probably going to make $40-something thousand off, not the lady that's buying it, but the lady that's selling it. I ain't even really charge them a commission because I know the situation they in. I want them to be able to build some wealth back up. But I feel like God was leading me to do that. And when you do those little things, it empowers people to be able to do it for somebody else. But until we learn how to help other people, our people never going to get out of the hole, man.
And the other thing too is that there's a thing called toxic charity.
Reverend.
Yeah. Handouts are not always empowering. We got to give hand-ups, and that's a theological concept. When Peter and John were going up to pray, Acts 3, there's a man sitting at the gate called Beautiful, begging alms, and they begging for money. They show up and say, silver and gold we don't have, but what we give to you, in the name of Jesus Christ, rise up and walk. And they helped him get up, and he ran in the temple praising the Lord. So I always see that as a hand-up rather than a handout. That because yes, when there's a need for relief, right? We need relief efforts. When there's an emergency and the person needs help right now, you help them right now. But that old saying, you can give a man a fish he eat one day, and you teach him how to fish, he can eat many days. That's a hand up. We need to find ways, one, as you were just explaining, how to help people generate wealth themselves and help them learn how to sustain that wealth is crucial. But I'm afraid that many times we actually apply toxic charity. We do it with kids, always giving them something, make them work for something.
Yes.
Because if they always feel like they get a handout, they grow up with this orientation that the world owes them something. And it can't always be they owe me something. It's got to be, how do I participate in the regeneration of the wealth, and we got to do that through a value system. Is how do we instill values of what it means to live well? I think that's so important. How do you react to that?
That is important. I like the way you said it, because if people don't listen to me, then I don't force those opportunities on them. So
Yeah.
so say if I tell you what I think you should do, and that's coming now, if I'm your agent, I'm gonna always tell you what you need to do, but it's always up to you. But if you're dealing with one of my properties, I'm still kind of your agent. But if you don't listen to what I'm telling you to do, I'm not giving it to you because I know you just gonna destroy it and lose it.
Yeah.
And so I'd say, hey, this is what you need to do, or you need to do this, this, and this, and I'm gonna say you this because this gonna help you do this.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to listen, I'm not giving it to them, because if I give you something and you begin, it's like when I saw Miss Hobson today. This her third house she doing. I didn't mind giving her that subject to. It was a great blessing. I didn't mind doing it because she had listened to me on the other two she did. The first house she got, I pretty much gave her a hand up. I let her have a house for $225 when I could have sold it for $250. Gave us some equity, already had a renter in it and everything. I remember you saying, man, dude, you giving them renters and everything. I mean, when you feel that, you was like, dude, you giving them renters and everything. Man, how can I cook up with Maxwell Realty? Because that's my job. My job is to teach people how to be blessed. And I believe the more I try to help people get blessed, God gonna bless me. The Bible says, I bless those who bless you, I curse those who curse you. And through this covenant, all generations will be blessed, which means God is trying to bless people through you. This is the thing. God wants you to be prosperous. He wants you to be a blessing. It's the most selfish thing in the world is for you to not want to be prosperous.
No, let's talk about this because we're talking theology.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be blessed? Because I want to make sure that we're not simply saying blessings are financial
I'm
assets.
not saying that, but it's not excluding it. So this is what I'm talking about right now. So I'm specifically talking about something, and I'm in this lane. I'll come back to that lane later. But while I'm in this lane, I'm going to drive. I ain't trying to switch over right yet. So what I'm saying is the most selfish thing you can want in the world is not want to be prosperous. Because Jesus said, I can't give you life and to give you more abundantly. Yes, it ain't just wealth, because if you don't have your health, you're going to lose your wealth. Now, the love of money is the root of all evil. So if I just love money, see, the reason why God said, he says he wants, you don't tithing and all that, he did away. You can not tithe. If you don't tithe, you ain't going to hell, blah, 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 because he wants you to give lovingly. He says when you sow, it's for you to sow and to becoming more righteous. Righteous really means to be more generous. So you giving so you can get more, so you can give more. Prosperity to me is not defined by how much you get, it's how much you give. I'm prosperous because I got enough to give, and I'm always giving. I should have got $12,000 off that deal today. I'm only gonna get $1,300, and I'm doing it because I got to cover my errors and omissions insurance. But I was able to give to help somebody out so they could walk into a whole nother level. So what? God can trust me because I understand that I'm a steward. It's not my money. I'm a steward. And that's why if he can trust me with the blessings to do with it what he wants me to do with it, then he's going to give me more because he knows I'm going to do with it what he wants me to do. Now, I may fuss about it, and I need to learn how to do Philippians, do all things without complaining. I ain't quite grew to that yet. So sometimes when I give away $30,000, I'm like, man, for real, God, I'm what? And I'm mad, but I still do it. You understand? But no, prosperity is not limited to wealth.
Yeah,
it's not limited to money.
But I want to go back to blessings though,
Yeah.
because I think it's important that you can get money unrighteous gain, right? There are all kind of ways that you can get money, and then people say, "Well, I'm blessed." Not really, not if you got it the wrong way.
Exactly.
Right, and then also you can get money because you got it the right way, but you don't have an attitude of blessing. And what I mean by that is how do you value how do you invest? Jesus tells the story, the parable of the talents. Like he gave somebody 5 talents, gave him 3 talents, gave him 1 talent, and the one who gave him 5 and 3 multiplied their talents. The one who gave 1 didn't have the attitude of blessing. So looked at my 1 and said, I'll just keep this till he gets back. And then he came back and said, why didn't you invest it? So this idea of being blessed because I have funding, the question is, what is the wise stewardship of that? Because that's part of what it means to be blessed.
Exactly.
Blessing, multiply blessings upon blessings. Well, we know when we have the right value system on how to handle the blessings.
That's
And
it.
that's relationships, that's money. And I'm learning that too, the power of influence. That's a blessing because sometimes influence can get you what money can't get you. And if people don't steward relationships properly, you can abort a blessing, right? So that's what I was getting at with the concept of blessing, because I want young people especially to understand that money is not the only type of blessing, right? It is how do you sustain that? There are many rappers go out and make a whole bunch of money. I know people around the music industry, millionaires, and then they weren't millionaires anymore. Or basketball players make money and then they don't have it anymore. It's like the blessing appeared with the funding that you had, but because you don't have a full understanding of what it means to be blessed, you don't know how to invest it. You don't know how to multiply it. You don't know how to build relationships to sustain it. You don't have to play ball for the rest of your life to be rich, right? But richness is deeper than the check that you got, so that you can sustain the relationship. Yeah, and let me say this:
I'm good.
the number one reason for homelessness in this country is broken relationships. You think it's money, but it's not. Housing industry actually feeds into the problem, but at the end of the day, it's relationships. How many people who are homeless who I've worked with over the years, and you ask them where they're from? Oh, I'm from this town. Do you have family? Oh, yeah, they live across town. Why the hell are you over here sleeping on the ground? Broken relationships. Something happened that your own people are out of relationship with you. And so relationships. When you talk to people who have succeeded in life, it's not because they're smarter than other people. They had the right relationships.
The Bible also says, I wish above all things that you be prosperous and in good health, even as your soul prospers.
Yeah.
And a lot of times Christians always want to just say, oh, you reading the Bible. It ain't just reading the Bible. Your soul is your mind, your reason, your intellect, your deduction. Your spirit is your spirit, it's going to go to heaven when you die. Your body, your flesh is your body. But at the end of the day, your soul is you. So as your soul process means you not just reading the Bible going to help you. You need to study, how do I invest? Do I do this 401k? Do I do this Roth account? What do I do? Do I do stocks? Do I do bonds? How do I do this? What do I do with real estate? What is it subject to? What is a wraparound mortgage? What is flipping? What is a 1031 tax exchange? You got to begin. Your soul has to prosper. You have to read. You have to learn something so you can be able to sustain your blessings. You got to be able to evolve with the times. So when I was first started doing subject twos, or sometimes when I buy a certain house, if it's $80,000 of equity in the house, and I know I can. Am I going to rent it? Probably not. I'm going to flip it, and I know I can do the 1031 tax exchange and use that money to buy something else and be able to put it back in the pot. If it's a nice house, it's already together, but I only got a few dollars of equity in it, I'm probably going to rent it for a minute to make sure that I make some residual income. It's all about your soul prospering and knowing the thought process and knowing what you need to do. Is not just the Bible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not just the Bible.
So here's the key. What I really like about this conversation is that we're challenging people.
Yes.
With the question, can you stand to be blessed?
Can you?
That's what it is. Can you stand to be blessed? Do you understand what blessing is? Do you know yourself? And can you be you? Woo. And the only way you can is that you have a deeper reflection on what it means to be blessed, how to build wealth, how to build community, how to have the right relationships. These are basic principles for success.